So, you know, were the buyers surprised, disappointed, angry? Yes, they were. And it was somebody hoping they could sort of patch it all together on the back end, and I can make this work. If not, we'll deal with it on the back end. Well, they did. They dealt with it on the back end, and this is it. This is how they dealt with it. Okay. So, there's some very interesting kind of broad statements in this court opinion. It's a 14-page opinion. We can't go through the whole thing, but there's a couple of interesting things. If you go back to page 7 of 14, up here in the right-hand corner, this is the buyer's arguments. According to the buyers, these are people who sold their home, the monetary liens and encumbrances on the property affected both the value and the desirability of the property. Now, those are magic words. Value and desirability. In other words, the last sentence in that paragraph, in other words, the physical characteristics and intrinsic desirability of the property are distinct from the financing. The latter viewpoint, so this is the broker's position. In other words, the physical characteristics and intrinsic desirability of the property are distinct from financing. So what the broker's argument in response to the buyer's argument was, we know that the standard is we have to disclose anything which materially affects the value and desirability of the property that's not readily apparent to diligent visual inspection by the buyer. But the financing is distinct from the condition of the property, so we're not under a duty to disclose that. As you read through here, the rest of this, well, the latter viewpoint, this is back end where it says 425. The latter viewpoint misses the big picture. While a buyer may be harmed by acquiring title to a property with undisclosed defects, such as hazardous waste or soils, a buyer may also be harmed by entering into an escrow to purchase property when it's highly unlikely that, unbeknownst to the buyer, escrow will never close. Despite, this is skipping down to about 5 lines from the bottom of that paragraph. Despite the absence of privy of contract, a real estate agent is clearly under a duty to exercise reasonable care to protect those persons whom the agent is attempting to induce into entering a real estate transaction for the purpose of earning a commission. My guess is that in future years down the road, as future court cases are decided in trial level and appeal, this language will probably be cited multiple times because it's so broad and it's such a very well-stated, understood piece of law that applies to brokers. They then go over on the next page, 1520, and talk about the types of cases that have been decided where realtors have been found responsible for disclosing things that either were off-site or not a condition of the property. So Alexander McKnight, duty to disclose a neighborhood nuisance. Reed versus King, we all know that one. Lynch versus Savage, duty to disclose improvements for construction violations of building codes, other things. So that's kind of what this case is about. The brokers also later on here argued, we couldn't disclose to the buyers that the property is over-encumbered because that was confidential information. And that would be disclosing secrets of our seller and maybe what they'd be willing to take for the property. The court made very short work of those arguments. It went through all the ethics of canons that were cited by the brokers and just said all those ethics of canons are premised on not violating an affirmative duty which you have to protect the buyers here. So sort of the sum, you can read through the rest of this, there's more details in here, interesting reading, but the summary obviously is, in a short sale situation, and all the short sale transactions that I see are typically accompanied with a CAR form of short sale disclosure so that the lenders are required to reduce their amount of their loans down to the sales price and discharge the borrower from liability for the rest. So everybody knows it's a short sale, so that doesn't really seem to be a common experience of what I'm seeing here. It's more important for the illustration of the types of things that the courts might do if people aren't sort of letting the other side know the